Hey y'all, happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a wonderful hump day and a wonderful week. In today's video, we are going to go back a little bit to the beginning and explore where the Jacksons came into the story. The Jacksons are Marvonne McCrae's father and stepmother. Marvonne Senior and Wynette also live in Georgia. They also have traveled to Arizona to see Marvonne at this time. Marvonne Senior and Wynette have both given interviews to a few different creators involved in telling this story. As you know, if you've been following this story, the main two creators that Marvonne Senior has spoke with and Wynette was Katie Joy of Without a Crystal Ball and Molly of Molly Go Lightly. These two creators also have been in contact with Marvonne's biologic mother, Letitia Bias. And although there's two different sides of the family, I need to remind everybody that Marvonne Jr. was put up for adoption when he was a child. His birth certificate was changed, so his legal parents do differ from those that are his biologic parents, meaning Marvonne Sr. and Letitia Bias. There has been many conflicting stories on the relationship between Marvonne Sr. and Marvonne Jr., also Letitia and Marvonne Jr. However, I think some of this will clarify a little bit more. And no, there might not be 19 lies in this video, but I had to play with that because she likes to cover the Duggars, obviously, so here we are. Again, if you want to see the full video, go to Without a Crystal Ball. It's her July 14th video. And there will be a follow-up to this video with Marvonne Senior and Wynette's own words. But we got to go back to the basics because things have unraveled since this point, and people are missing certain details that we need to discuss. And again, I'm not trying to change your opinion on Dre or the creators. I'm trying to point out the facts of how we got here. I know KJ has retracted some of the statements that she made in this video when she has found out they have been lies. However, she has stated numerous times recently that these were things that were told to her by the family. My understanding is this is information that she was given directly from the family. Now, how that relationship changed or unraveled, I'm not really 100% concrete on, but I'm sure between Wynette, Katie, Marvonne Sr., and Letitia, there's text messages that cover all of that. Again, my focus has never been any of the creators. I think they all played a hand in things unraveling to the point that they have, yet this story has been built off of misinformation. So we have to go back to that part.
I have been speaking with Marvonne Senior and his wife Wynette for almost a week. So this is my story about talking with them. Listen, on last
I just need to stop this and remind you guys this video is from July 14th. We know at this point that the family had been speaking to multiple creators. However, I think the stories that they were telling the creators, depending on which family member was talking to who, all was different.
Marvonne Senior is working out of town. And so he can't speak all the time. But on Saturday, I had a conversation, a three-way call with him and his wife, Wynette. Wynette is Von's stepmother, and she married Von's dad when he was in 2012. So after Von actually moved and joined the military. Marvonne Senior actually had the opportunity to go to the hospital and see his son. There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on, and like some parts of the family were not able to see Von. So Von's mother, Letitia, has not seen her son, but Von's dad and his stepmom did. And I had a conversation with his dad for like a half an hour. And when he comes home, which is going to be in a couple of weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, Marvonne Senior will hopefully be joining me on this channel for an interview. But I want to share with you what he told me. First of all, I speak to the wife like almost daily, and Von's family is very extensive. Like he's got siblings, he's got a grandmother, he has a father, he has a stepmom, he has all these friends that love him. Everyone cares about Von. And his dad, when he found out what was going on with Von, was super worried, and so he got into his car and he drove from Savannah, Georgia, all the way to Florida, all the way to Arizona. And he was the one that Dre got.
I'm going to go ahead and insert some messages that I received from an admin of the Justice for Vaughn group. These were sent from her to a friend of hers as she was addressing concern about the situation. As this story was being told, Marvonne Sr. stated numerous times that he was at work. Other people stated that he was at work, yet that wasn't the truth. And as you can see, it was being discussed with Letitia and admins in the background. So they all knew that Marvonne Senior was actually incarcerated in a specialty type of rehab program. Again, I'm not aware if the creators knew at this point. This was back July 11th. Again, I don't know if any of the creators knew because, as you can see, Letitia was not wanting even certain creators to know because she didn't want to cause trouble for the Jacksons.
That's Mar's parents. Are you the nurse?
No, I'm not his nurse.
I've said this before, but I think she was genuinely shocked. She didn't know Marvonne Senior was able to travel to Arizona, I'm sure, at this point, because if they had just reconnected, she too would have known that he was currently considered an inmate. Now, that doesn't change the fact that he should have absolutely been able to see his son. Let's establish that. I am so glad that he took the initiative to go see his son, and he absolutely did not let anything get in his way. So I have to give him a shout out for that. We know now that Marvonne Senior even took it the extra step and made sure he got travel permits arranged so he could travel from Georgia to Arizona to see Marvonne. He made arrangements with the Fisher House that's connected to the VA for lodging while they were there. They were there from the 22nd to the 28th. That's their words, not mine. That too will come up in an additional video where we will actually hear them speak and say these things.
He did get in though, and he was able to visit with his son for numerous days. They were in Arizona for over 2 weeks, and they spent time with.
I'm assuming that because she did this interview kind of like a reporter, that she probably recorded the interview, so that's where she got her information was him. But you notice she just said 2 weeks. He was there for 2 weeks. So either Marvonne Senior told her he was there for an extended length of time or
And
not.
his mother, Letitia, was not able to go because Dre had told her that she had taken out a restraining order. There's no record of that restraining order happening, and Dre claims now that she never filed it, even though she told people online that she did file it.
I have looked high and low for this clip of Dre telling people that she got a restraining order on Letitia. If anybody has that, can you please send it to me? That's the one clip I have not been able to find, and there has been zero confirmation that a restraining order was ever in play whatsoever.
That prevented Letitia from going, but Marvonne Senior and his wife Lynette were there.
Again, this came out after the fact, after some drama that was going on online, but Rochelle, the daughter of Marvonne Senior and Letitia Bias, even posted on her own personal page that Letitia had been offered to go with them to Arizona from Georgia, but she had declined. I don't blame her though. I wouldn't want to go with my ex-husband either. That would be weird. I totally understand Letitia's reasoning for not taking that offer, yet no one was preventing that.
This is hearsay and that I'm not speaking to him, but I can't have him on my channel right now, y'all, because he's literally working and he's out of state and he can't be on the phone right now. So as soon as I can get him on this channel, I promise you that I will.
At this time, it is my understanding that the creators didn't know that Letitia was asking the admins to help keep that away from them because she didn't want to create drama. So at this time, I don't think they did know he wasn't at work.
It's not concrete, it's not factual. It would be no different than anyone that has had something to say about the situation has something to say. So he went to the hospital and he said that when he went there, one of the first things that he saw was an abrasion that was on Von's neck and it looked like a bruise or like a burn, and he didn't know what it was from. He said there was also a very large abrasion on his elbow and nobody could explain where that came from. When he was there, he said the interactions with Dre were so uncomfortable and that he had only met her one time before. In 2015, when he went home, Von went back to Georgia to see his family. Von was supposed to come back in 2019 and he never made it. We now know why.
Again, it has now been confirmed that that is not true, that Marvonne Jr. did travel to Georgia in 2019. He was only there for a couple days. Him and Dre had been having issues, so he went home. However, he was miserable as soon as he got there, allegedly, and returned to Arizona to be with his family. Letitia herself has stated that he was there in Georgia in 2019 and she didn't even get to see him, that only one of his siblings got to see him at that time.
Would tell him anything. He said he went to the police department and he got the police report. He found out more about what.
Marvonne Senior has stated that he did go to the police department when he was in Arizona visiting his son, but he was at the Tucson Police Department. The alleged incident took place in Yuma, so he stated that the Tucson Police Department wasn't much help, but they forwarded him to Yuma. The family was issued a copy of the police report on June 24th, 2022. That is when Marvonne Senior was in Arizona.
They told the dad. Dad was not able to make any headway. He said he literally went down to the police station and they said, we can't help you. And he finally talked to the detective in Yuma and got a little bit further. And so that's kind of where that ended.
It was alleged in this interview that Marvonne Senior stated that there was not an ongoing investigation at that time. However, we have heard numerous creators say that the police department told us that there's always been an active investigation, that there was never a closed case.
Vaughn was like not breathing on his own. He had no brain activity. Despite like the way that he described it was they had hope. They continued to have hope that he could get better, but they were realistic about the situation. And what he said about like there was no movements, everything was very, he said, like involuntary. But what he told me, which I thought was the most interesting, was that he said February or March, Vaughn reached out to him and he and his dad started talking like regularly. So he said that he and his son were like communicating on the phone. They were doing 3-way calls with his stepmom and they were just reconnecting. Their relationship had been kind of estranged, obviously, with Dre entering the picture. And then like because of his childhood, he was kind of in and out.
We have heard Marvonne talk in videos that Dre posted on her social media about reconnecting with his family. However, it didn't go into exclusive, like which family members he was talking to. It was just basically kind of an overview. So I'm assuming kind of all of them at once that he was trying to reconnect with. Yet the story seems to be conflicting with what Marvonne Senior and Wynette are claiming compared to what Letitia Bias is saying about his involvement and relationship with Marvonne Jr. and her other children. I believe after all of the videos I've seen that Marvonne loved his family no matter what, but I do believe that there is a lot more to this story than meets the eye.
That during the time that he was speaking with Vaughn, he could tell that Vaughn was unhappy. He could tell that Vaughn wanted changes in his life, that he was like making changes in his life. And he said that he could tell that his son was not being as like forthcoming as he normally was because Dre was literally always monitoring his phone. So he said there was like never a time that he was on the phone with him that Dre was like not right there listening to him on the phone with him. So she was like monitoring his communications with Vaughn. So Vaughn he said, had to be very like roundabout in how he said things, but he said it was clear through his conversations with his son that he was telling him that he wasn't happy in his marriage. He wanted to come home. He was thinking about leaving. He was adamant that Vaughn had been communicating with him for months, was really excited to reunite with the family, was really excited to see them. They had just bought an RV, he said. They had just gotten a settlement from a surgery that had gone wrong for him. And he said that he said to me flat out, I think that Vaughn was going to divorce her and he was going to leave the marriage and she didn't want to let him go. That's what he said. So
I'm not going to try to convince you of how to feel about whether he had a good relationship with his son or not, whether he was speaking in code to his son, whether or not they talked every week. I'm not going to try to convince you of anything. You've heard his own words. And if you haven't, hold still. That video is coming up next. But what I am going to encourage you to do is use your own critical thinking skills and think about the statements that are being made on whose behalf. Put all the pieces together and kind of think about these things.
I spoke to the stepmother today, and we are going to arrange a time for the dad to come on the channel and do an interview. And he's also hoping to speak to the local media to get Vaughn's stories out. There's a lot of like negative stuff happening out there. Everyone is talking about who's talking to who and who has the story and who doesn't have the story, and people are lying. And at the end of the day, it's about Vaughn. And there's a lot of family members here that have things to say. So his mother for sure has a story, and she's got every right to feel upset and angry that she hasn't been able to see her son. And then equally, his dad has a story where he's frustrated with what he saw when he was at the hospital. He's angry about the way that he feels like this is getting brushed under the rug and like swept away because he's a black man in Arizona. And
I need to point out again that people got really mad when people started discussing that Marvonne was a black man. Yet in this interview, you can hear his dad even says he's a black man. And it has been alleged that certain creators have said this, or certain creators have said that, or certain creators are trying to paint it in this light. No, the family has even brought this up numerous times.
With that being said, I'm not here to make up stories. I'm not here to speculate. I'm just telling you what everyone else, like, it's no different than when someone does an interview. So Marvonne Senior says that he felt like something happened. That's what came from him. He physically saw Vaughn and he said the story didn't add up. The way that Dre acted, and then everything that she was doing afterwards didn't add up. Like how she was like spitting on him and how she was putting things in tubes.
Yesterday, I put my saliva on him. Showed it. I went all of them on my and put it on him.
I need to mention that Marvonne Senior has said numerous times that they are getting their information about what's going on in this story and what Dre's doing to Marvonne via social media. One of his sons keeps him in the loop.
I asked them flat out, like, is Dre banned from seeing him? And they don't know for sure. They think maybe. They don't think anyone's able to see him at this point, but they did get to see Vaughn.
Again, because Dad was getting most of his information from one of his sons via social media, I think that a lot of misinformation was getting put to them, such as Dre being banned from the hospital. That never happened, ever.
Family here that really wants the story out there, that's fighting for this to get further exposure, to get the police to get fueled to actually do something.
I understand the want to get the story out there, but the story should be told the right way. The one that should have a voice, Rochelle, still doesn't.
The police in Yuma have said that the case is reopened, but they really can't do anything while he's still on life support. There would have to be a significant change into his life situation for it to become a serious investigation, as far as I was told by his father.
To my knowledge, I don't think Marvonne was on life support when Marvonne Senior was visiting. However, there has been conflicting information in regards to his actual medical status throughout this entire case.
Whether she did something that day, they don't know. But the stress of that situation, the family feels, could have led to him doing what he did if he did it himself. But they also think that she played a role in messing with his health, giving him medications, keeping him dependent, controlling his financials, controlling his friends, alienating him from everything. Just because it's a man doesn't mean that DV doesn't happen. He exhibits all the signs of a victim of DV. He just happens to be a 6 foot tall black man, and she's a 5'4" white woman, Mexican American, Latina.
This goes back to just not knowing your subjects and that you're talking about. Totally understand. But Dre absolutely is Hispanic and white. She is more white passing, I guess one would call it, but she is Hispanic and of Hispanic descent. Her bio father was not in her life.
And I just want to be clear about something. I didn't have anything to do with the mom getting an attorney. I didn't coordinate that. I asked for videos yesterday for the father of the girls. That's it. I spoke to a friend of the father's and I sent a bunch of videos over to them. And they, the father of the girls, is going to have to do what they need to do to get the girls to be safe. So at this point, everything is going to be going forward legally. It sounds like Letitia has a lawyer. Oba, the father of the girls, has a lawyer. This is going to become a legal battle over the kids and over Vaughn. And it's going to get ugly.
Again, I have not verified where she was getting this information, if that was directly from Letitia herself, that Letitia had an attorney, but I do know that Without a Crystal Ball posted in a post on her page previous to this that said Letitia had an attorney.
And that, I don't know if criminal charges are going to happen, but there's also an open DCS case, which we don't have information on, only that it's open and that it's an active investigation into Dre at this time.
I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again. With DCS investigations, there is no information that is given out. Sometimes, if they're working with a family, they will give a family limited information, so she might have a source that way. But as far as DCS, that is not happening, that they are giving information on an active investigation with any minors. Usually, they will not even confirm if an active investigation is ongoing.
And the dad flat out says to me, I think she did something to him. That's his opinion. I don't know what's the truth. Until the police do a proper investigation and look at everything and actually interview people, they didn't interview anyone. That should be what pisses everyone off. Why weren't the daughters interviewed? Why weren't friends? Who was they? So many things were left under and away, and Dre has moved him around so much to avoid accountability, in my opinion.
And so many things continue to be left under the rug, swept under the rug, ignored, acted like they didn't happen, acted like this isn't a big piece of this puzzle, acted like there hasn't been major lies all throughout. This case has constantly continued to be a revolving shit show.
Please, 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 let's just focus on the goal here. Follow who you want to follow, watch who you want to watch, believe who you want to believe. This isn't a contest. This is about a story and justice for a man. And his father and his stepmother have said they want my help. I'm going to continue to help. This father.
Again, I don't know all the details of why their communication has since ceased, but at the time, they were talking to numerous creators. I don't know what all happened behind the scenes. They all know. They all have screenshots. It's about time somebody starts dropping it all. Drop it all, guys. Let's see it all. Who said what? Who actually did what? If we're going to get to any truth in this story, we've got to go back to figure out all of the places where things went wrong. How many different ways has the story gone wrong and why? Every day we keep hearing about Miss Letitia Bias, but there's other people involved in this story too. Marvonne Jackson Senior and Wynette have been just as important piece of this story as anybody else. And yes, as you remember, creators have been fundraising on their behalf also. Have been fundraising since they returned from Arizona back to Georgia for a return trip, is what has been stated. I do not know the current status of Marvonne Senior's incarceration, nor is it any of my business. However, it needed to be addressed so people could understand the confusion that others were having throughout this. Be back with the counting on part with Marvonne's own words. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for watching.